We're at NAMM 2023. It's press preview day, and I'm talking with Patrick Flores. Well, I go way back with Eventide, surprisingly, despite my youthful appearance, back to the 1980s when I bought the rack-mounted. You reminded me it was H910 is what it was called, and I thought it was pretty impressive at the time. Used it for pretty successful recordings, and then time passed, and I thought I'd like to get that. I'd like to get the current rack model. I think of the 3000, something like that.
Yeah, 3000 was out, but now we have the H9000, which is like the even bigger H3000.
I haven't kept up, obviously, but then I saw the price, and my jaw dropped to the floor, and that's why I'm now having orthodontia done. But anyway, I did buy an H9, and the H9 was it did a lot of things. It did mostly what I wanted it to do. And so after buying actually two of them, I see that you now have the H90, and this, I think, possibly has the feature of combining two H9s. So the question I'm going to ask you is, did I get that right? And is this actually two H9s in one box? And why would anyone want to have this?
So yeah,
as if I didn't know.
In the most basic level, it's definitely two H9s. You can definitely look at it that way, but it's so much more than that. It's really more derived from the rack mount unit down to a pedal board form. So I can run two algorithms, like you said, but it's flexible routing. So you can have either series or parallel routing on both of them. Plus there's 4 in, 4 out. So you can insert other pedals in between the two algorithms. And then on top of that, each switch is programmable. And we have 10 new algorithms inside this thing. We have a polyphonic pitch shifter, a tape delay, new distortions, Univibe clone. So there's a lot of new things to offer on the H90. On top of that, it's all easy to use. It's not like the H9 where you really needed the app to get to like the full potential of it. In here, you can do everything right from the front panel. You can program any of the foot switches you want, momentary or active, or really any function. So it's a lot more flexible than the H9, with a little bit, of like better sounds from the legacy sounds, and then a bunch of cool new algorithms.
There is something about Eventide sonic quality, and I'm hoping you can spill the beans on why do they sound so good? What is it? Is there some what processor are you using in here, if you don't mind?
Sure. So really the processor is an ARM. It's a dual ARM processor inside this thing, so 2 ARM engines. But the big secret, if you want to know the big secret on how to get the Eventide sound, you got to get you some good engineers that know how to make some cool Eventide sounds, man. That's the big one.
So the deal with this is that if you get this, it actually does. It has a number of other effects. Like you wouldn't really. This is nice to have additionally, but you don't need this because this is in here. Is that right? Yeah. Talk about that.
Yeah, so these are our smaller standalone pedals. These are a lot more affordable than, say, something like the H9 or the H90 especially. And for example, a lot of people just want like a Blackhole reverb. That's all they use the H9 for. And they want more knobs. They just want to be able to touch. So that's where this comes in. These series of pedals, which we call .9 pedals. We have 4 of these currently. These 2, the Micropitch and the Blackhole, and then what's not displayed is the Ultra Tap and the Triceratops.
Well, you're holding a guitar, Patrick, and I think we've made the viewers curious. So why don't we do something about that? So with the H9, it was a bit of a hassle using my iPhone to work with it. Yeah. So you don't really need any of that now.
No, not anymore, exactly. So you can, for example, here, if I wanted to just change like the mix of the reverb, I just click parameters, and I can change the mix of the reverb right on the fly. If I wanted to change the type of reverb too, I could just go to algorithms here, go to reverb, or any reverb I want, change the type to reverb, and then I can scroll through anything, really. It's very easy to use. You don't need an app for it at all.
Okay, well, even though we're going to be recording this acoustically, I think the sense of Eventide sonic quality will come through. So what are we going to start with here?
So this is going to be two of our new algorithms. There's a Univibe called Even Vibe, and then SB 2016 Reverb, which is our kind of vintage sounding reverb.
Univibe made famous by, I think, someone named Jimmy, and a track called Machine Gun very famously used it.
Yeah, it's like some local indie artist from back in the day. Probably played like a talent show, you know.
That's right. The very talented show. Okay, let's hear Bedroom Vibes mixing even Univibe with what?
SB 2016 Reverb.
Okay, let's do it. Let's try another one.
Cool. So this is our new polyphonic pitch shifter. Normally with pitch shifting you could do monophonic and it'll harmonize that mono. But
so that brings up the question. So with the H90, are there completely new effects that have been designed?
Yes, there's 10 new algorithms on the H90 and it only exists on the H90, and we're having the H9000 will be updated with it in the future, but it's not going to be on the H9. It's exclusive to this pedal.
By the way, you're playing guitar very well, I might say, and then this is actually usable on a lot of different kinds of instruments, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, so something new for this as well is every single input and output can be converted to line. So for mics, synths, it's very friendly for those formats.
Okay, well, again, this is what?
This is a preset called Awaken, a program called Awaken, using polyphony going into Tricera Chorus. So our clean sound is this. And then if we activate it, it sounds like this.
I think one of the great things is with the H90 is you get it for whatever it costs, and then the hours of noodling come free. Because
yeah, dude.
That sound immediately is evocative. That's something you want to play with and see what you can do with that. Great choice. Anything else?
Yeah, my favorite thing about this thing is I really call it an inspiration machine, man. If I'm stuck on a song and I can't find, where to go next, you just turn this wheel and whatever it lands on, like just see what the preset sounds like, and then you can out of nowhere go to this,
All right. Just I'm curious, what does it take to design a product like this? I mean, how long would this be? How many engineers would be working on it?
So we had pretty much the full team of Eventide put a lot of effort into this, while simultaneously working on our new plugins and other new hardware products. The full team went throughout the pandemic, did this. We started this just a little bit before the pandemic, and then when the pandemic hit, we kind of had to transition to working from home. But to answer your question, a lot of patience, a lot of, listening to new sounds, and just a lot of jamming with this thing to see which sounds you like.
Are the engineers also musicians, or are they working? They are.
We're all musicians at Eventide. So the main engineer of this thing, Russell Wedelick, is a fantastic bass player. So you'll hear a lot of the sounds on this thing is very bass friendly.
So guitar, bass, keyboards, vocals, what else?
Synths, strings, anything.
Wow. Okay. All right. Now here's the big question. How much?
This is Street $899 in the U.S. And it is available now.
Okay. Actually, that's not terrible.
No, it's a really good value for having two effects that will get rid of a lot of pedals on your pedal board.
I'm wondering how much I could sell my H9s for and possibly afford it. All right. Well, thank you very much, Patrick, for your playing, for your tasteful choice of an employer, and for demonstrating this outstanding product here at NAMM 2023.
Cool. Thank you for checking us out. And if you want to learn more, go to eventideaudio.com or follow us on social at Eventide Audio.